Okay, so following on from our last tutorial about opening up Logic and using the basic navigation and loop functions, I'd like now to talk about how to build arrangements and how to think about editing those arrangements as we build them. Obviously, all arrangements are made up by positioning loops, such as the ones that we positioned in our last tutorial, and we can do lots of things to those. For example, we can loop and reposition these, so have them playing over and over again, or position them in different places. Okay, so the first step in building your arrangement is to decide really where each instrument should be, okay, and where it needs to actually start. Obviously these are all started at the beginning at the moment, but that might not be the right way to do things. Okay, so by introducing instruments one after another, you constantly give something new to the listeners, which keeps them excited and eager to discover what's next. So it's all about intriguing your audience and keeping them there. That's a fundamental aspect of sequencing a song. Okay, so what I want you to do is actually follow my instructions for this particular video. So you'll need to have your My New Day. You can see here it's called for me My New Project, but you would have saved it as My New Day or something similar to that last week. So if you look for last week's session and open that up, you'll see if you look from the Arrange Area local menu bar, you can choose Edit Select All from here. Edit Select All, or as you can see, you could also use the key command, Command A. Okay, mine was already selected. If I select in the background of the Arrange Area, that deselects all, and now I can press Command A to select those all again. If I want to deselect all without, and I can't get to the Arrange Area for some unknown reason, I can press Shift Command and A, and that will also deselect all. Okay, so but for now, just select all. Okay, so all 5 regions are selected, and their names appear in white over black, as you can see here. That's how we know that those regions are active and ready to be actioned upon. Okay, so in the inspector, which you can find by pressing I on your keyboard, remember it's this area over here, in the inspector's region parameter box, which is this box up the top here, I can use the disclosure triangle to find. This is the region parameter box. And in here you can click to select the loop checkbox. And this loops all of the regions up until the end of the project, which at the moment is only 37, as we can see down here, 37 bars long. Okay, and if I zoom out by pressing Control Alt and the left arrow, we can see that that's where the project ends. Okay, on bar 37, this is the project end tab, and if I move that, the loops follow it because they will always loop until the end of the project. Okay, if I select all and then press Z, that will zoom to fit all active regions, so we can see them all there. Not the loops because they're inactive aliases. But all the active regions are now zoomed to fit the window. Okay, you can also toggle on and off toggle on and off loop by pressing L on your keyboard, and that will toggle on and off any active regions you've got. Remember, if I've just got one region active and I press L, it will just loop that one. But we had them all active, and I press L and it's looping every region until the end. Okay, so just to recap, this menu bar here is what we call your Arrange Area local menu bar, okay, because this is your Arrange Area, it's got the white halo around it, okay, and this is the local menu bar to that, okay, rather than being the general menu bar, which is obviously up here for Logic in general. This is specific to the Arrange Area. We can access lots of things in here. We'll come back to that later. Okay, and this area is your region parameter box, and there are lots of things we can do in there, which we'll also come back to later, but just remember that name, the region parameter box, for now. Okay, so all selected regions are looped up until the end of the song. The dim sections to the right of each region represent these regions looping over and over, as you can see the intersecting lines there. And if you hover over that, you can see a loop tool there, which helps us to do individual loops. Okay, click in the background of the Arrange Area or press Command Shift A. I can't see the background of the Arrange Area because I'm zoomed in full, so I'm going to press Shift Command A to deselect all. And now what I want you to do is drag the Bright Tone Bass 03, so the Bright Tone, which is the one we've got selected in the track header here. I want you to drag that that loop towards the right and drop it in on bar 2. And as you perform an operation on a region, a yellow help tag displays the following information. Okay, so I will just grab this region, and we can see now it tells you the operation you're about to perform. In the current step, this is move regions, which you can see at the top there, move regions with automation. It also tells you the number of the track where you are, which is 2 in the current set of things. You know, here we have it's a second track, and you see underneath where it says move, you see 2. That means it's the second track, the number of the track. The name of the region you're clicking, which is Brightone Base 03. The position of the operation, i.e. 111 before you drag, and if I drag it to 2, it's now saying 2111, okay, which means it's starting on bar 2, the first beat of bar 2, basically. And it also tells you the length of the region in bars, and obviously this is only a 1 bar loop, as you can see. It starts from bar 1 and goes to bar 2. Or now it starts from bar 2 and goes to bar 3. That just tells you how long it is. It's a 1 bar loop. Okay, so it's important you understand these things because it can help you when you're trying to do things to understand, you know, if you're making the right decisions. Okay, so the help tag displays the positions and lengths in bars or measures beats, divisions and ticks. You will often refer to a position or a length with these 4 numbers, so it's important that you remember how to do that so that if you're communicating about something, you can do that easily, whether that's verbally or written. Okay, in any production scenario, that's going to be possible and is typical. Okay, so yeah, the beat is the denominator in the time signature. So for here, for this thing here, it's 1/4 or a quarter note. Okay, so that's just the beat. Okay, 1 out of 4. So we're on 1 at the moment, bar 1, beat 1. Okay, the division is set in the transport bar below the time signature, which is 1/16 note. Okay, here we're in 4/4 timing, and underneath here we see divisions are in 16ths. Okay, come back to that later. And a clock tick is 1/960th of a beat. Okay, a 1/16th note contains 240 ticks. So basically, as you're moving along, depending on what snap mode you're in, you can move along gradually. At the moment, we've got smart, so that will be looking for the nearest possible alternative, but you can change it to bar, beat, division, ticks, etc. If I change to bar, the next place it will allow me to move it is the next bar. It won't allow me to move it anywhere in between that because the snap is selected at bar. Okay, if I change that to division, you'll see it will allow me to move along the next division. You can see the divisions are in the top bar line, and they're just the little faint white lines. Okay, and it's allowing me to move it from one division to the next, which allows me to snap easily to those points. Okay, and if you want to move really, really smoothly, we can use ticks. Okay, you can also use frames if you're working with film, but let's use ticks. And now you can see and really fine tune exactly where I want that to be. Okay, so I want you to drag the piano loop, Deep Electric Piano, to bar 5. Okay, so this one, I'm going to drag it to bar 5. Remember, you can see on the help tag, it's telling us where we are. And I maybe need to zoom out a little bit at this point. Dragging it to bar 5. There we can see 5/111. There we go. We drop it in there. Okay, I'm just going to change this back to divisions to make it easier. And I'm going to press Control Alt and the left arrow to zoom out so I can see what I'm doing a bit clearer. Okay, we're going to drag the strings loop, orchestra strings, to bar 9. Okay, so here we are, orchestra strings. We're going to take it to bar 9. Okay, here we go, 9/111. Okay, and the wild slide distortion we're going to take to bar 10. Okay, so you can see in our help tag, we're on bar 10/111. Okay, so now things will start to gradually improve, or gradually, introduce themselves into the equation. If I just turn off the cycle region at the top, and we go back to the beginning, we can hear how that's now created a more interesting intro. Okay, so obviously I've changed the sound on mine, so that was originally a drum beat, and you'll probably hear something different and probably better. But that's basically, you created an intro for yourself. It's about a 12-bar intro really, and things are coming in one at a time. Okay, so we've got the foundation for a simple arrangement. Okay, starting with drum and bass. And then layering it up with the other elements from pianos and strings as the song progresses. That's a typical way of doing things. Okay, so your next step is to decide where to eliminate some of the instruments and allow the arrangement to breathe a little bit. Obviously, everything's just repeated, and we need to kind of change that a little bit. I wanted to talk a little bit about copying and resizing regions. Okay, so let's edit the bass track to make the intro lighter in texture, letting the full bass loop kick in around bar 5 with the electric piano. Okay, so we're going to Option, which is the Alt, is also the Alt button next to the Command button. We're going to hold that down and drag the bright tone bass region to bar 5. Okay, so we're going to select it and press Alt. I'm going to drag it to bar 5. That should have copied it. We'll try that again. Okay, that was on bar 2 before. So I'm pressing Alt and I'm going to hold it down. You can see it says copy regions. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm copying regions. I'm going to copy it over to bar 5. There we go. Now you can see the previous region is looped up until the next region. And then the next region is looped. Everything on there is looped. I can unloop that second one if I want, or I can unloop the first one. But at the moment they're both looped. This one loops to the end there, and then this one takes over. But what if we want to change that? Okay, dragging a region moves it, but option dragging makes a copy and lets you place the copy. Okay, so this is a copy. It's not the same, it's not a loop. We can't edit loops, it's a copy and we can edit copies. Now we can manipulate the bass region in the intro. But starting on bar 5, the full loop will play repeatedly. Notice while you're option dragging a region, the help tag now reads copy regions, okay, as I showed you. Okay, so in bar 2, I want you to select the bass tone, the bright tone bass region. So just select it. And in the inspector's region parameters box, we're going to deselect the loop by pressing L. Okay. The region's loop parameter is turned off, and the region does not loop anymore. Okay, so you're about to shorten the bass region, but first you'll need to zoom in on it so that you can see individual bass notes in the waveform. Easiest way to do that, select a region you want to zoom in on and press Z on your keyboard, and that zooms it to fit to screen. Okay. The selected region fills the arrange area, and you can clearly identify individual notes. Here we go, in the waveform. So this is going to be quite easy to edit. If you click the play from selection button in the transport bar, or press shift and then enter, you can listen to your bass pattern while you're looking at the waveform. Okay, another way to do it is we could place a cycle region around it by going to the cycle button down here and going to auto set locators, and it automatically sets the locators around that region that's selected, or any number of regions that are selected. I'm going to press C on my keyboard to open up the cycle region there. So now I can listen back to that over and over. But I'm going to solo it first. There's two ways of doing that. One, I can solo it over here on the track header, or I can press S on my keyboard and that will solo that region. Okay, there you go. So, we can now see what's going on and we can hear what's going on in that particular bass line. Okay, so what I want you to do is position your pointer over the lower right corner of the region. So I'm just going to press S again to unsolo that. The lower right corner of the region brings up our region adjust tool. Okay, our region resizer tool. Okay. So whilst looking at the waveform, drag the corner of the region to the left, shortening the region to hide the last three notes. Okay, so we're just going to hide these last three notes. That's the first one, second one, and that one. Okay. Don't use the help tag for this operation, you don't need to. Look at the waveform and make sure you have hidden the last three notes. Okay, now I want you to zoom out. When no regions are selected, the toggle zoom to fit selection or all content key commands zooms to fit all of the regions in the range area. And the way we do this, we click in the background of the range area and press, and that deselects all, and then we press Z, and that just zooms to fit all. Okay. So we now got a nice short bass pattern in measure 2 that is perfect for the introduction. And we're going to remember to save our project here by pressing Command S. Okay, the project saved. You need to repeat the same bass pattern twice in bars 3 and 4 before the full bass loop kicks in at bar 5. Okay, so we can either loop it or we can copy it. Okay, so if we click the bright tone bass region in bar 2 to select it, in the arrange areas local menu bar, which you remember before up here, we're going to choose region and then repeat regions, which is just down here, or we can press Command R. Okay, so repeat regions will bring up this dialog box here. Okay, in the number of copies text field, we're going to enter 2. It's already greyed out in here, so if I just type 2 on the keyboard, that will replace the 5 that was selected. And from the adjustments menu bar, from the adjustments menu, choose bar. So from here, you're going to choose bar, and that will place it on the next bar. Okay, and we want them to be copies, not aliases or clones, because we want to edit the files individually. So we'll make copies that we can edit. If they're aliases or clones, then every time we edit one, it changes all of the other ones. Okay, so we just want copies. And so, I'm just going to click OK. Okay, the shortened bass region is copied twice on the downbeats of 3 and 4. Okay, it's copied it to the next bar as we asked it to, and then obviously to the next bar because we wanted 2 copies. Press Command S to save your project. Okay, and we can move on to the next bit. The song is saved, and then you know it's ready for the next time. Okay, so we can go to the beginning of the song and listen to the new introduction. Okay, so let's do that. Even though I've got a particularly bad sound on mine, I could change that. I could change it quite easily by going into here and choosing a drum beat for that. Okay, but you can listen to it on your own. It's fine. Okay, so I'm just going to turn off the cycle region so that it doesn't just repeat the first 2 bars. Let me just listen back to that now. Okay, so we've just got something a little bit more interesting. We've varied that up a little bit by just adjusting the length of those regions and moving them around. Okay. Other things we can do, we can adjust loop repetitions. Okay, so before you move on to arrange the strings and slide guitar parts, we're going to adjust the number of repetitions of the electric piano so that it stops on bar 9, leaving some space in the mix for the next section. Okay, so we're going to position the pointer over the upper part of the piano loops, which I showed you before reveals the loop tool. Okay, we're going to hold down the loop tool at bar 9. Okay, so Here's bar 9. We're going to hold it down just there. And that adjusts it to bar 9. Okay, and you can see there loop 9111, and that's where our loop is ending now. Okay, and so the difference is if we just press L, it just loops to the end of the song. But with this loop function, we can just have it ending wherever we want. And if I've got this on division, I could even have just a little part of it happening there. I don't even have to have the whole loop. Okay, so that's the loop function. Remember to always press Command S to save your work at regular intervals. Okay, so the song's starting to take shape. It's got a nice intro. Okay, then a fuller section with electric piano. We're going to now work on the strings and the slide guitar section. So we're going to look at arranging a middle section. So obviously in a song there's always a middle section. One production trick is to recreate a musical phrase composed of pieces of phrases from different instruments. It's the modern equivalent of the classic call and response dialogue that blues singers and guitarists perform when jamming. The singer starts to sing a phrase and then the guitarist answers with a short melodic phrase afterwards in a response to it. Okay, so in this song we're going to perform that trick using the strings for the call and the slide guitar for the response. So we're going to select the orchestra strings region and press L. Okay, the region's loop parameter is turned off and the region doesn't loop anymore. Now we're going to position the pointer on the lower right corner of the strings region until the resize tool appears. We're going to drag this to the left to halve the size of the region. If you look, the region is 2, it says in the help tag 2 bars long. We're going to push that along so it says 1 bar only, 1 0 0 0. Okay, there you go, it's half the size. Okay, I'm going to select the wild slide distortion and we're also region, and we're also just going to zoom out on that a little bit. Also press L on there to stop it looping. Okay, and we're going to drag the region's lower right corner to bar 11. Okay, so we can see up the top in the bar line, there's bar 11, and we can also see in the help tag that's starting at bar 10 and it's 1 bar long, exactly, so we know we're at bar 11. Okay, you've recreated a 2-bar phrase composed of 1 bar of strings followed by 1 bar of slide guitar. The strings play a simple quarter note motif. The slide guitar repeats and sustains the last note played by the strings and then slides back into the first note of the strings motif. If you repeat that new phrase a few times, the slide guitar will take you right back into the strings motif. So we can use the same repeat regions command you used earlier to repeat a group of regions. Okay, click in the background and drag the pointer, making sure that the rectangular green highlight touches both the strings and the slide regions. Okay, so we're just going to drag around there. Okay, just like that. So both of those are selected. Okay, a little tip here, when selecting regions you must always make sure you start by dragging in the background. Okay, if the pointer is over a region when you start dragging, you will move the region, and you don't want to do that, so save your time just to make sure you're starting from the arrange area. In the arrange area's local menu we're going to choose region, repeat regions, or press Command R. Okay, this time we're going to leave the number of copies set to 2 and we're going to set the adjustment to none. There's no adjustment, and that means what's going to happen is it's going to repeat directly after that ends. Okay, so I'll just show you that again. Repeat regions 2, adjustment none. Okay, this time the whole section, which contains 2 regions, is repeated twice. That's why when we did this we had both of these regions selected. So the next copy with no adjustments is going to start at the end of those 2 selected regions, and then again like that. Okay, so what I want you to do is select the first orchestra strings region on bar 9. So this one here. And we're going to click the play from selection or press Shift Enter. And if you listen, playback starts at the beginning of the section on bar 9, and you can listen to your new dialogue between the strings and the guitar. Okay, so I'll leave you to do that for yourselves and listen to that. And when you're finished, I want you to press the space bar to stop playback, and we're going to look at ending the song. Okay, so now would be a good time to wrap up the song. You'll bring back the electric piano, let it go for a little while, and create an ending for the song on bar 21. But first you'll need to zoom out of the arrange area to make space for the ending. So at the lower right of the arrange area, you're going to drag the horizontal zoom slider to the left, or press Option Control left arrow. Okay, so where that is just down here. If I just zoom in on that area down there, you'll be able to see where that is. Okay, that's just that area down there. Okay, so we can drag that to the left to zoom out. Okay, I'll just zoom back out, and this way now we can see everything. But another way of doing it is to press Control Alt on your keyboard, and you'll see the little magnifying glass. Okay, and then we press either the left arrow to zoom out or the right arrow to zoom in. Okay, I've zoomed out full there, so I can't actually zoom out anymore. But it might look differently on yours, because you might have a different, you might have more than 38 bars in your session, in which case you should be able to zoom out further. Okay, but you don't want to zoom out any further than this, so ideally you want it to look something like it does on my screen. Okay, so the whole arrangement zooms out horizontally, and I want you to look at the bar ruler and try to display at least 23 bars in the arrange area. Okay, so as long as you've got at least 23 bars, you should be alright, but I can just see the whole lot here. But I know actually my session doesn't need to be that long. I can drag it back to say bar 25 for now. Okay, and that adjusts all of the loops back to that point. And I'm just going to zoom, I'm just going to press Control Alt, and I'm just going to press the right arrow to zoom in a little bit to there so I can see a little bit more. Okay, so now we can see things a little bit more clearly. The next thing we want to do is look at creating that ending. Okay, so the whole arrangement zooms vertically. If you Option drag the deep electric piano bar region to bar 15, we're going to copy it to bar 15. So we're going to Option drag deep electric piano, the deep electric piano region here, and press Option, and we're going to drag that to bar 15, and we can see where we are on the help tag. There we go, bar 15 111. Okay, and it places a new copy there. To create an ending for the song, you will stop all of the still looping regions at the same place. The last piano loop is still selected, so you will add the drum loop and bass loop to the selection by shift clicking them. Okay, so we're going to shift click the drum loop and the bass loop above the selected piano loop to select them as well. So hold down Shift and click. And we're also going to select the bass region, so Shift and click, so that we've selected just those regions. Okay, the Shift and click allows us to select a number of individual discrete regions so that we can adjust them however we want. Okay, we can position the pointer over the top part of the looping sections. Okay, somewhere around here. And the pointer switches to the loop tool, and we're going to Option drag the loop tool to bar 21. Okay, so wherever you are, that doesn't really matter. We're going to Option drag to bar 21. There we go, 21 111. Done, and that does it for all of those regions. Okay, so all three regions stop looping on bar 21. When using the loop tool on multiple regions, holding down Option makes all the looping sections stop at the same place. If we didn't hold down the Option, then they might not do that. Okay, for example, if I press Command Z undo and I just started dragging that forward, sometimes it doesn't do it. On this particular occasion, it has, and that's great. So stop it at bar 21. Okay, so in the lower half of the bar ruler, double click about a bar before the end. Okay, the playback starts where you double clicked. So bar before the end, you double click here around bar 20 in the lower half of the bar ruler, just double click. Okay, and that plays from that point. The song ending sounds a little abrupt. Usually musicians end a song by playing the last note on the downbeat of the last bar. Since the loops are cut off right on the downbeat, that last note is missing. So you can adjust the end of the bass and piano loops so that they play one more note on the downbeat. Okay, so clicking in the background of the arrange area to deselect all. This time you'll need to zoom in on the ending of the bass and electric piano tracks to precisely adjust where both instruments will end. So we're going to Option Control drag around the last bar, bar 20, on both the bass and piano tracks. So Option Control brings up our magnifying glass. We're going to drag around the last couple of bars, or the last bar of the piano and the bass. There we go, and that brings us straight into that point where we've just zoomed around, selected around. We've zoomed right into that point, and we can see right at the end now, and we can see the waveforms and where the notes appear on the MIDI region as well. Okay, so we've zoomed in there. On the bass track, we're going to drag the loop tool to the right to uncover one more note until the help tag reads 21-2-1-1, and then in brackets 16. Okay, so here's the bass, and we're going to drag that over so it says 21-2-1-1. 16. There we go. 21-2-1-1 16. Ooh, it's kind of zoomed back to the start there. That's odd. Shouldn't do that on yours though, but if it does, just use this little slide ruler to go along, okay, and find that place again. And if not, if you can't do that, zoom out full by selecting the background of the arrange area and pressing Z, and then using your Option Control and dragging over that area again to zoom back into the same place. Okay, but you can see here I've brought in one more note on the end of that bass. On the piano track, I want you to drag the loop tool to the right to uncover the beginning of the first note in bar 21. Okay, so we're just going to do that again in here. The first note, oh, we can see the first note is just there. There we go. Don't know why this keeps doing that. That's very strange, but anyway, here we go. You can see, oh, weird. Right, you shouldn't have this problem though. Don't know why it's doing it on my computer. We can see one more note being played there. Okay. On MIDI regions, notes are displayed as horizontal lines. Here, the low note is in the lower part of the loop region. As long as the attack of the note is visible, Logic will sustain the note for its whole length. Okay, so the attacker note is just the start of the note. So we can see the start notes there. It looks like it's cutting it off, but it will play the whole of that note because it's a MIDI note. Okay, now you can zoom out to see your entire arrangement. So we can click in the background of the arrange area, or we can Option Control click anywhere in the arrange area. So Option Control click, and that zooms us out full. Okay, so have a listen to that arrangement and you can hear the difference that makes, especially on the end. Okay, you should now have a basic understanding how to manipulate regions to create an arrangement in Logic. Your basic editing techniques are as follows. Drag a region to move it, Option drag a region to copy it, place the pointer at one of the lower corners of a region to resize it either way, place the pointer in the upper right corner of the region to loop it, and we also learned some basic zooming techniques such as Option Control drag, which you do on an area to zoom in on that particular area, and Option Control click anywhere to return to the previous zoom level. You can also press Option Control and then the right arrow to zoom in horizontally, and Option Control left to zoom out horizontally, or press Option Control down arrow to zoom in vertically and Option Control up arrow to zoom out vertically. We can also press Z on your keyboard to zoom in on the selection you've got, and press Z again to return to the previous zoom level. or we can deselect all regions by pressing Shift Command A and press Z to see your entire arrangement. You could also do that by clicking in the background of your arrange area and pressing Z, and that zooms out to full as well. Okay, feel free to experiment on this, and try some stuff out for yourself. Okay, try adding sections or creating breaks in some parts. Use short breaks in the drums or bass tracks to trigger attention. They remove the foundation that listeners take for granted. You wake them up and bring them back into the full song. As an additional exercise, try to stop the bass from looping just before the last section on bar 14.2.1.1 and have it return for the end on 15.1.1.1. Okay, I'll leave you to do that if you want to do that. And now we're just going to look at mixing the song. Okay, so once you have arranged the song, the next step is to mix the song before you can export it as a stereo file. Mixing is the art of blending the instruments, carefully balancing their volume and frequency spectrum, and giving them a place in the stereo sound field. As you finish the project, you use the mixer to adjust the level of each track and its stereo position, and add processing plugins to sculpt the sounds. In the following exercises, you will mix the middle section, the exchanges between the strings and guitar. Okay, so preparing for a mix. When mixing, you can use the cycle mode, which I've looked at briefly here and there, to repeat the section of a song. So you don't have to worry about navigating the song while you focus on making that section sound better as you work in the mixer. In this exercise, you will open the mixer, rename the channel strips, and adjust the cycle area to match the middle of the song. So at the bottom of the arrange area, you want to click the mixer button, which is down here, or you can press X on your keyboard to toggle it on in and out. Okay, and obviously, just like the piano roll or any of the other editing areas, we can resize that region so we can see the whole thing. And that shows us which one we're looking at the moment. So this one at the moment is the first track with the drum beat, which you've got a drum beat on it. So Vibe, it's playing through a sculpture modeling synth. And that's highlighted, that's the one we're working on. Okay. The mixer shows you the channel strips that correspond to the tracks in the arrange area. All those channel strips are mixed onto the stereo out channel strip. So you can see the stereo output here, everything's mixed onto there, which is why in the inspector you see the output channel as well, just to see exactly what's happening in the final output. Okay, at the moment we can see that's going over. Okay, the arrange area stacks tracks vertically, while the mixer stacks channel strips horizontally. So the channel strips are displayed left to right in the same order in which they are displayed top to bottom in the arrange area. The names of the channel strips are not really descriptive. You can rename a channel strip by double-clicking the name at the bottom of the channel strip or in the corresponding track header. So in track 1, we're going to double-click the drum track's name. Okay, if we go out of the mixer and we go back up to the top and we just double-click on there, we can rename this. Okay, and I want you to type drums in that, and then before you press enter, I want you to press tab on your keyboard, which is the little button with the arrow pointing at a line which is above your shift click button, which is above your function and control buttons, but it's also the one next to your Q on your keyboard. Okay, so your little arrow pointing at what looks like a wall maybe. Okay, so we're just going to press that, and that immediately takes us onto the next track header, so we can rename that. It's just a quick way of doing that. So in the next one, we're going to rename that bass, obviously, and then press tab again. And this one we're going to rename piano. Okay, and then strings, and then guitar. Okay, just press enter on the last one. And now they're all got their own bespoke names. And in the mixer, if we bring that up again, you can see them, and it's easier to actually start doing a mix. Okay, so now let's adjust the cycle area to the middle section of the song. I want you to select all 6 orchestra strings and wild slide distortion regions. So we're going to come out of the mixer by pressing X on our keyboard, and we're just going to drag around those regions there for the guitar and strings. In the toolbar, we're going to click Set Locators. Okay, so up here set locators, and that immediately sets the locators around those regions. Okay, so we've got a cycle region around those now. And the cycle mode is automatically turned on when you set locators in the toolbar. Okay, so from now on, when you use the spacebar to toggle between play and stop, playback will always start at the beginning of the first strings region on bar 9. So here we go. I can stop it, I'll start again, and it starts from the start. Okay, so adjusting levels. Each channel strip has a level meter. If we go back into our mixer, each of these has a level meter, a peak detector at the top of the meter, which is where we can see we're going over at the moment in the output here. Each of them have an output. We can see where it is at the moment. There's only drums playing, I think, so that's why we're getting a reading for that. And a pan or balance control to adjust the stereo position, which is just here. So we can position it wherever we want, left or right or center. If I want to get to the center quickly, I can press Alt and click, and that'll take me to the center. Okay. Below the volume fader, a mute button allows you to silence that channel strip, and a solo button allows you to listen to that channel strip by itself. Okay, so there's a mute to mute it, and there's a solo just to play that one on its own. So in Logic, selecting something in one area or window usually results in the same element being selected in the other Logic areas or windows as well. For example, selecting a track in the arrange area results in the selection of that track's channel strip in the mixer, and vice versa. So if I select this track now, being bass, and I come back out of the mixer, we can see that the bass track is now selected. Not the regions on that track, just the track. Okay, so if you play the song, you can see the peak detector at the top of the stereo out strip is hitting the red. Okay, and that's really not good. So if you play it, okay, that's gone through the loop once, but you can see that the most that it's going to go over the limit is by 3.6 dB. That means Logic's output is overloading by 3.6 dB. Okay, so you will turn down some of the instruments to avoid overloading in the mix. In the drums channel strip, drag the fader level down to minus 8.2 dB. Okay, so in the drums, you can take this down to 8.2 dB. Bit fiddly. You can also double click into here and adjust it that way. Okay, on the stereo out strip, click the peak detector. So we're going to reset it by just clicking it there, so that when we play it back, we know whether it's going to be over the level now. Okay, so let's have a listen to that. You can see that it's 0.7 dB below the limit, but it's still good. You know, we're not going over the limit, we're below it by 0.7 dB. Okay, we can probably come down further on that. Okay, on both the drums and the bass channel strips, click the solo buttons. Just like that. Okay, the solo buttons turn yellow and you can hear only the drums and the bass tracks. This makes it easy to balance the level of the bass against the drums without the distraction of the other instruments that are not yet mixed. Now that you've turned down the drums, you can hear the bass needs a little taming. In the bass strip, I mean, you can't hear it when I play it back because my speakers are not very loud, but you may hear it better on your headphones. In the bass channel strip, lower the level of the fader to minus 2.7. Okay, so I'm going to just type in there, minus 2.7. The minus is next to the 0. Okay, there we go, minus 2.7. Option click one of the yellow engaged solo buttons, and this will turn both solo buttons off. So we only have to press Option, click, and that will turn, if we've got them all selected on solo, or most of them, and we do that, it turns them all off solo. Okay, in trip hop, for example, you want to keep the drums and bass like quite loud and in your face. Okay, so the only way to achieve that balance without overloading the mix is to turn down all the other instruments. If you feel your mix starts to sound weak, simply turn up the volume of your audio interface or monitoring system, okay, so you can hear it better. Don't be tempted just to turn it up in the mixing section just because you can't hear it, because that's obviously counterproductive. Okay, in the strings channel trip, we're going to lower the fader to minus 9.2. Okay, so I'm just double clicking there, minus 9.2. And in the guitar channel strip, we're going to lower it to minus 20. Okay, so I'm just going to bring it down to minus 20. There we go. A bit more fiddly when you're doing it by hand. So try and do it. You notice that it only says 20. Once it gets below minus 10, the minus sign disappears. But you can see clearly that it's in the minus. Okay, we're going to look at using processing plugins now. At the top of each channel strip, a setting button gives you access to thousands of factory channel strip settings for both software instrument and audio tracks. Again, a channel strip setting is a collection of all the plugins on a channel strip along with their individual settings. Okay, so below the setting button are the EQ display. So the channel strip setting up here is this one. Let's look at it on the piano. It's a bit more interesting. See what it's called. If we come out of that and just hover over it, it should tell us crystalpad.esi. Okay, and we can select different channel settings by going through and selecting them here. Okay, you might want to pick something else for that particular piano. You go into acoustic pianos, for example, and pick another channel strip setting. A Steinway club piano or something, and it loads those files for you. But it also loads the different specific plugins for that sound. And this is your EQ. If you double click into that, it brings up your EQ, and we can see the EQ graphic there. More on that later. Okay, another technique to keep the drums and bass sounding big is to make the other instruments sound thinner. So first, we're going to try a few channel strip settings to change the sound of the guitar. At the top of the guitar channel strip, we're going to click the setting button to open up the channel strip settings menu, and we're going to choose O2. We go to strings, setting here, and we're going to choose, if we go down, you see it more clearly on yours, I've clearly got a lot of presets. O2, electric guitar, and then O1 guitar tone sampler, O2, and then O1 guitar tone sampler, and then from this menu we're going to choose surf, just down here. Okay, select that, and you see that now it brings up that channel strip. Okay, it says surf, and we can see we've got an amp designer, a channel EQ, and a compression plugin on that. Great. Okay, so the next bit then. The channel strip setting loads, and you got those channel strips on there, and it gives a different sound to it. If you listen back to it, it's a lot more different. Oops, sorry, I should have still had these ones selected. Let's select those. And it's a much nicer sound for the particular song. Okay, you can hear the effect of the channel strip on the guitar. If you click the setting button for a moment to open the channel strip menu, you can choose next channel strip. So we go back into the mixer, we hold that down, we can choose next channel strip, and I think that takes us on to US metal. Obviously gives us different sound. There's one way of quickly going from one to the next to try them out by choosing next channel strip. Okay, if we go back to previous channel strip, it'll take us back to that. Okay, so we can pan instruments and copy plugins. Okay, remember that your initial goal is to get the strings and the guitar to have a conversation. So you'll realise this concept by panning them to either side of the stereo field while making them sound a little more alike. Placing them in the same range of frequencies. In the surf channel strip setting, the Amp Designer plugin is mainly responsible for the resulting sound. So you'll copy the plugin copy that plugin and its settings onto the strings channel strip as well. So in the strings channel strip, drag the balance control down to -15. So let's just bring that down so we can see where we are. Strings, we're going to take that down to -15, just like that. Okay, even though the balance control is a rotary knob, you adjust it like any other setting in Logic. Drag the balance control vertically, starting dragging in the middle of the control knob, so up and down vertically. Now we're going to drag the guitar channel strip balance up to +14. So in here, go to the middle, hold down your mouse and go up to 14, +14. And that moves the guitar to the right, obviously. Now we're going to copy the Amp Designer plugin. Okay, so we're going to Command Option. So remember, Option is Alt. So we're going to go to the Amp Designer plugin here. We're going to press Command Alt or Option, and we're just going to hold that down and just drag it across, like so, and that copies it over. Okay, in the strings channel strip, we're going to lower the fader to -19. So I'm just going to type into there and go -19. There we go. Okay, so now let's listen to a section with the electric piano to adjust its level. Okay, in the Arrange area, select the Deep Electric Piano region at bar 5 and click the Play from Selection button. Or you can go to the cycle region down here and make sure you've got auto set locator selected, so that whatever I select, it will make a region around that. Okay. So if we play back now, it will start playing that back with that new sound that I've chosen actually. If you click the mixer button again to close the mixer, click the cycle area to turn off cycle mode and listen to the whole song. You'll now hear all those different textures. Okay, the song is basically finished. Okay, so you started from nothing and you've created, you selected 5 loops, created an arrangement for those loops, which is, you know, if you did that on your own, that would be your original mix. No one else has done that. It doesn't matter, you're using other people's loops, it's still original. And you're ready to export the mix. But what we're going to do is we're going to export the mix at a different time. Okay, and today I just want you to experiment with moving around with those different regions and trying out all of the ideas that that I've done in this particular tutorial, but with your own song, with a view to creating a sequence in a genre that you've chosen, as we discussed earlier on in the session. Okay, so I'll leave you to do that now, and the next one we'll be looking at is actually exporting that mix. I'm going to do that as a separate video because you'll probably want to come back to that at a later point and view that as a separate video. Okay, brilliant. Thank you.